Today, we are focusing on future careers, developing skills for the future job market and job creation. I think this is important as a discussion today. If you look at how things are happening in the world, particularly if you look at the fourth industrial revolution. Last week, we had very interesting conversations about the role of language in the fourth industrial revolution. And today we are saying, well, now that we know what the role of language is in the fourth industrial revolution, what are the future careers? What is this fourth industrial revolution bringing that is going to make things different from how they were in the past? So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you a man of great stature. I am talking about Professor Sefotho. Professor Sefotho is an associate professor in the Department of Educational Psychology. He specializes on career guidance and disability at the University of Johannesburg. His work focuses on career construction within the sphere of contemporary careers. He is the first registered member and a board member of an organization. Perhaps when he has time, he will tell us a little bit about that. Now, just for context, I know you have read his bio, so I'm not going to go into detail. Let's go into the context of what we are going to be talking about today. Amartya Sen speaks of development as freedom in his book that was published in 1999. In his book, Development as Freedom, Amartya Sen sees freedom as a central value in development. He sees it as an expansion of freedom. Freedom is viewed both as a primary end and a principal means of development. Sen emphasizes on positive freedom, that is the capacity to be and the capacity to do, rather than negative freedom or freedom from interference. Sen views freedom as a capacity, not only as the absence of active interference. In his capability approach, Sen broadens on information specified as relevant for evaluation of well-being and the quality of life. Now, if you look at this, you will notice that the sustainability development goals favor the fourth industrial revolution as it extends the freedom of people across the world in line with how Amartya Sen sees development. Now, if you look at the sustainability development goals and you try to look at them in line with the fourth industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution innovations promise to make products safer. They promise to make industrial productivity to increase. They promise to shorten the global supply chains and make public services more personalized. The fourth industrial revolution promises predictiveness and also participation across the world. Progress in at least 9 sustainability development goals could be directly affected by the fourth industrial revolution. There are 9 of them in that slide, and I'm just wondering if you can see them. These are intricately linked to the fourth industrial revolution in terms of their artificial information? Well, as much as there are positives, there are negatives as well. Now, the emerging Asia industry presented this slide at the World Trade Organization, and they were saying, here are the challenges with regards to poverty. Here are the challenges with regards to the quality of education. Here are the challenges with regards to infrastructure, etc. Now, these are affected because of how they have prepared themselves as the Asian nations. We as South Africa have interpreted the Sustainable Development Goals into our National Development Plan. The goals of the National Development Plan are to reduce poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Tapping into the benefits of the Fourth Industrial Revolution could be very key. The Presidential Commission of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is known as the PC4IR, stated that the NDP should be seen as the foundation of South Africa's approach to the 4IR. This means that the policies, strategies, and plans needed to seek to advance the goals of inclusive and shared growth. This means that countries need to develop a comprehensive view, the human capacity and the human capital system, and then to leverage the points which can be accelerated by the 4IR. The Human Resource Development Council should work with the PC4IR, the education system, and the Digital Skills Forum to inculcate 4IR skills such as communication, logical, numerical skills, coding, thinking, computationality, I'm sorry about that, holistic approach to problem solving. This is the initial step to address the scourge of unemployment and developing technical skills. Now, my current state of mind is, are we making headway? If we look, for instance, at the COVID-19, it has derailed development plans from a budgetary and implementation side. Do we have the necessary skills to upskill society in preparation for the Fourth Industrial Revolution to achieve development goals? Are we sufficiently supporting youth in terms of the 4IR? Prof, these are the questions I'm asking. And over to you as you address this very important topic of future careers. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you so much, Sefotho. Hello, everybody. I think I will load my slides if you take down yours so that we can proceed. Gwena, are you able to take down your...
Sorry, Prof. Sebo, I would you to please stop sharing. Thank you. There you go, Prof. Welcome to share your slides now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Prof. You'll speak to many people this morning, and then we just sort of take on where somebody else has left off. So
there's
sorry
no problem.
about
No
that.
problem.
Thank
no
you,
problem.
Prof.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I have been introduced. My name is Maximus Sefotho, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a subject that I'm very passionate about, and hoping that, yes, we will link with the questions that have been asked. Are we making headway? And today I would like to start by looking at the types of careers which are not very much popular, one should say, but which probably could be the answer to what we are facing today in our context as humanity. These are in the form of boundaryless and protean careers for employability. And these three, protean, boundaryless, and employability, are very, very important because they will address some of the questions that have been asked. We are looking at this within the ambit of jobs for the future. And, out there, people are beginning to think about top careers, somewhere in 2050. And, time is something that is so funny because most of the time we think, oh, it's very far. That's what I thought, when I was thinking back to the year 2000. Before that, we were hearing all about this year 2000 and people were gearing towards that. And lo and behold, it arrived. So these also may be seeming far, but it's really around the corner with us. I'm going to be looking at the careers that are labor market driven, but in the context again of artificial intelligence. This term was coined by John McCarthy way back in 1956, if we can imagine. And it's a long time back, and yet really not so far back. But how important that there was this foresight, if we want to talk about future, to say that, no, we have to think about the careers for the future. And the human mind is really very intriguing, because how do we project? How do we know? How do we assume? How do we suppose that in the year 2035, what careers are there going to be? It's one of the very intriguing situation and really important to consider, to ponder, but at the same time, as the opening was saying, we are operating within the disruption, if you like, of the pandemic. Who knew that at one point you and I would not be sitting in the same hall talking, but I'll be talking from across the space where you don't even know where I am. I don't even know where you are, but somehow we are connecting. So this is part of the careers. It links with human intelligence, which most of the time links with issues of the mind. What is the mind? And this is unfortunately incurably abstract, because that projection into the future, how far can a human mind reach? How far can a human mind see? How far can a human mind project so that we are able to say, yes, we know in 2025, there will be need for this particular careers, but which are actually not yet there. And how do we know what futures are this going to likely to be? This is why understanding how the human mind becomes very, very important for us even today, because it paves the way to artificial intelligence. I was only reading this morning that somebody was saying the robots that are being used, the machines that are being used, they have artificial intelligence, but it goes only that far because they cannot reason. They only react to stimulus, so they react to programming, which means, really and truly speaking, artificial intelligence still has a long way to go in order to reach the capacity or even to approximate the capabilities of the human mind. Hence why, ladies and gentlemen, the mind is described as is special non-physical entity in virtue of which we are aware. But can we be aware of future careers? Because awareness supposedly has to link with what we know. But if we don't know something, it becomes difficult to even predict, to say there's going to be such and such a particular point in time. However, that awareness is important because, again, it says to us we are at least cognizant of the fact that we have to think beyond where we are now. So, in a sense, artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science that concerns itself with building intelligent and smart machines capable of performing whatever tasks that we program them to perform. And can these machines now take part in terms of careers? We know that there is this fear that robots are replacing human capabilities in big ways. And with rapid advancement in deep learning, everything is transforming. And this is where we are going. But then to understand where the two have to meet so that we mitigate against the loss of jobs, which apparently, I was just thinking, when I grew up, when a tree had to be cut, it would be men of the village who come around with a big saw and big axes, and they might spend the whole day. But today, someone within 15 minutes with a hacksaw and the tree is down. So there's no need anymore of the similar manpower that we had earlier. Hence why artificial intelligence asks us to reason, to adapt, and then to sense. What are we sensing? The careers that we have now, are we adequately prepared for them? Are these careers answering to the labor market? Are these careers speaking to the individual's needs? We are talking of so much unemployment that is around us today. Unfortunately, COVID-19 impacted the labor market context. The environment is really very hostile to many people, and unfortunately, this is where we are today. But let's look at the issue of acting and adapting. Acting and adapting towards what? That's where now I would like to start to reflect on the Protean careers. And these are the careers which you can say, well, it's motor mechanics, is this and that. No, this is a metaphorical way of giving us a frame of mind or a frame of reference, how we must think of careers today. So these Protean careers emerged from Greek mythology with a Greek god who was named Proteus, and he was seen to be a person of many gifts. And you see, mythology also is important because it gives us, again, a frame of reference for things that we may not be able to fathom the way we would like to understand them, but at least that frame helps us to see where we are going. So one of the most important characteristics of Proteus was that he was known to be versatile. And he would mutate at one particular time. If he wants to become a plant, he would become a plant. If he wants to become a sheep, he would become a sheep. If he wants to become a lizard, he would become a lizard. So this flexibility, this versatility, this adaptability are supposed to be characterizing the careers that we speak about today. When my resume was read, it was said that I subscribe to career construction. Career construction for a reason, because we know that, the trajectory of careers has been that we will be told, choose a career. You have a calling, you follow your calling and all that. But over the years, Max Avikas, taken from someone before him also, has come to realize that a choice really, as we saw in the characteristic of a protean career, it has to mutate, it has to adapt to times. Otherwise, we are stuck by saying, I chose this career, so I'm fixated into this career. But no, we have to have the thinking of Proteus. I'm putting in front of us a picture of our national flower, a protea. And we are told that this is one of the most versatile flowers. Out there, literature tells us that there are 1,500 species. I want to repeat, 1,500 species of the protea flower. Whoever chose it for us to be a national flower probably had this in mind, that as we speak in our era, we'll be talking about careers that have to take a form of a protea and therefore multiple themselves as much as they can. So in essence, when we look at the issues of this many species, and then we are constructing careers, one has got to ask themselves, what is it that I'm able to do? What gifts, what skills, what competencies? I'll touch on these a little bit later on. But the importance is to see that, looking at the beauty that is in front of us, if this is the career that you have constructed, then it will be something that is admirable to the employer to say, I want to have that one. It's no longer the issue of, well, I'm making a choice, then I'm staying within my choice for as long as I want. Because even the labor market now is moving away from employing people permanently, especially the young ones. Our youth today have to have the versatility of a protean career, have to have the adaptability of a protean career. Now it links back to the question that Sefotho asked, are we actually making headway? And as it is, the landscape has changed. The headway will be made by the one who constructs. And this is a little bit of a catch-22 for us, because now it says, what are we doing as elders? What are we doing as education systems? What are we doing as institutions? We are doing a lot, but it is a matter of equipping our young people to realize that they can take their space and construct their careers. A couple of years back, I met this very enthusiastic young man, and he says, sir, I had you in class talking about career construction, and I want to develop a career, but I'm still a student. And I said to him, I said, you guys are living in an era of not having a choice, but having to work and study at the same time. We didn't have that in our days. You had to go to school and that was it. But today's world has provided through 4IR instruments that help us to be able to be versatile and do what we have to do. So the Protean careers of the 21st century, therefore, as proposed by Douglas Hall, are these careers where now the person begins to reinvent themselves. If I had chosen subjects at high school, such as the STEM subjects, and really and truly speaking, I'm good at them, but somehow I feel they don't speak to me. Is there something that I need to do which will help me to embrace the versatility of a Protean and then reinvent myself and say, this is where I want to go. I am currently teaching a subject, teaching studies for people who have degrees, people who have been in the world of work, but they want to come back to university and do teaching. One of them engaged me at some point and said, you know what, sir, I'm from the corporate world. I didn't leave the corporate world because of economic issues or money issues. It is because I wanted to become a teacher, because I think that's where I want to make an impact. And therefore, that environment where the person wants to be, allows them the space to reinvent themselves, reconstruct this career, as it were, make it a Protean one. And I said to him, I said, not much has been lost. You haven't lost anything, actually. As long as you can come with the skills that you accumulated from the corporate world and then inject those into teaching, you have now come to enhance the teaching space. And that was very, very important. Now, we are saying that these features of mutability, flexibility, adaptability, and versatility are important for Protean careers. Ladies and gentlemen, how far can we be flexible? The pandemic has shown us now that while many people lost their jobs, a lot of people started thinking out of the box. If I was doing plumbing before and I couldn't go to people's houses anymore, and I know that one of the things that I enjoy doing actually is cooking, why can't I actually construct a career in that space? And this is where now people became flexible and realized that we have to be adaptable and adapt to our new reality. A lot of people will come, on the social media. Oh, now I'm doing this and you can buy this from me and all that. This is all part of the flexibility, the adaptability, the versatility that has to accompany the Protean careers. Important as it is, when we are parents, we are sitting with our children, allow them the space to be themselves. Yes, with guidance, but culturally sometimes it becomes so difficult for a child to make a choice because the voice of the parent is always ringing in the, in the background to say, you have to be a doctor. Whether I'm, gifted in mathematics and human sciences and all that, which will allow me to operate in that space. But because the context again, that environment, home environment, is forcing me to go that particular way, I go that way. Or it could be, I saw my friend say, well, I'm applying, for medical school. And then they go that way. So I follow suit, I'll go there. This is now not allowing me to be myself because you cannot reinvent yourself if you are a carbon copy of somebody else. Be yourself. So the protean, yes, changes with time, but it is you who change, not somebody else. Now, the second type of careers is what we refer to as the boundaryless careers. This is now where, again, the era in which we are living has shown us that, yes, indeed, careers can be boundaryless. A lot of people now would be sitting in their homes, but they are working for a company in Germany, they are working for a company in Russia, they are working for a company in the USA. They are sitting at home, enjoying their home environment, enjoying their own space. So there are no boundaries. There are no physical boundaries. There are no psychological boundaries. There are no social boundaries. Yes, maybe social distancing we still need because of COVID-19, but this has allowed us to embrace the types of careers which we could say these are careers now for the future, boundaryless careers. And again, I want to reiterate, it is you who constructs whatever career you want. Now, what am I talking about here? Here is the issue. People realize that actually I'm a good English teacher, and there are classes to be given in Saudi Arabia, and there's an institution there that is looking for somebody who can teach remotely. I don't need to go there, no need for visa, no need for, climbing on a plane. I can do it, from the comfort of my home. And they begin now to say, okay, fine. I actually had never thought that I could use my skills in English to construct a career, but here is an opportunity. I have a teaching certificate, so I'm going to do something different for myself. Let's look a little bit of what Arthur and Rousseau say, describing these types of careers, that they are really not bounded. You are not bound to be in one space. And again, they are not tied to a single organization. If I want to work for another university, the boundaryless careers allow me to do so. If I want to work maybe for somebody else, as long as what I'm doing is within the confines of the law, then nothing prevents me from doing that. In fact, in many labor markets around the world, people have several jobs that they are doing, because now the demand for us to be versatile, to be boundaryless, has just emerged, because with what we have, we cannot make ends meet that easily. So they say that these careers are not confined to the organizations, because we knew earlier that if you wanted to be employed, you would have to go and knock on the door of an organization to say, and the organization in a way owns you for a period of time that they have said, we employ you permanent and pensionable. If organizations that employ you do not have the understanding of the conceptualization of boundaryless careers, if you say then to them, well, I actually want to work again for such and such, they will say, no, because of that aspect of having to be confined only to them, because they want you to only concentrate on what you do for them. But the idea now is that also we have to be looking at what we refer to as intra-organizational boundaryless careers, but inter-organizational also. which can be based on the networks that we develop, but also calling upon us to be self-organized. Because if you are to work in 2 jobs or 3 jobs or 4 jobs, oh boy, you have to be really smart in organizing yourself, because the demands are going to be too high. But again, the answer to the question of, is it a need for me to be in this boundaryless careers so that I meet my targets, I'm able to put food on the table, send my children to school, and those of us who come from, African backgrounds, support the entire, family that is dependent on you. These are very, very important, and they allow us to enter into negotiations again with our organizations to say, as and when there is need for me to operate in a particular space, please allow me to do so, so that you are still able to benefit and I'm still able to benefit equally. But again, these boundaryless careers are said to be based on a competency-based perspective. I decided to take these, not so much talk about skills per se, but emphasize on competencies for the following reason. That the word competency, as derived from Latin, means to be suitable. To be suitable. To be suitable for what? For the career that I'm constructing. To be suitable for what? To answer to my employer's needs. So a competency can be defined as the entirety of knowledge, abilities, skills. That's why I didn't want to talk about skills, and attitudes, which are necessary for an individual to work effectively in a particular working environment. That word effectively is really important, because if one is to develop, construct a particular career, be it protean or boundaryless, is it allowing me, do I have competencies that allow me to work effectively? The world of work is full of complaints, and these complaints are based on the lack of effectiveness of the people who claim, well, I am in this particular career. Then they're given a job. Then when a person is on the job, then the competencies do not speak to the knowledge, to the abilities, to the skills, even the attitudes to allow the person to work effectively. Because who wants to employ a person who does not work effectively? Not many people. So this is very, very critical and important. So if we look to unpack some of these aspects of competency, we're saying that the skills have to talk to the capabilities, which is what that was started with. Capabilities acquired through practice. A lot more often than not, once we qualify, we don't practice sufficiently because we think we have the skills. But a skill needs to be honed all the time so that you sharpen it such that you become the best in what you are doing. This is why the issue of choice as compared to construction. Construction is much better because you are the one who knows your skills. You are the one who says, I want this, and therefore you will develop required capabilities to meet that need. And then knowledge, again, we cannot overlook knowledge, because Knowledge is about understanding acquired through learning. This is a very dangerous one because most of the time, employers complain on this particular, even the first one, that, you know, for example, the young people of today don't have the requisite skills. We don't have skills that are relevant to what we want, not even the knowledge. But again here, we are saying that knowledge acquired through learning. It's not knowledge that somebody is giving you. No, you acquire that knowledge. I come from a school of thought that says, actually, we don't teach people, but we arrange for them to be in a context where they can learn. Learn what? Learn the skills they need for them to be competent out there in the world of work. Most of the time, when people are still in institutions of learning, you don't realize that the knowledge that they gather there and the skills, when you are saying to a student, you have left a full stop here. Why? They think you are just being difficult, but they get to the world of work, they are supposed to produce reports, and somebody says, throws it out into the waste paper basket and say, go and do it once more. What you have is not acceptable. This is now saying, have I constructed a career for myself that has allowed me to sharpen my skills, to gather enough knowledge, so that these can also speak to my personal attributes. What are these personal attributes? Inherent characteristics which are brought to the job. Once I have those skills, once I have that knowledge, am I in a position for my employer to say, when this person who comes through the door enters and does work, you can see the work ethic that this person is enjoying what they are doing because you constructed a career that you enjoy, that you like. It's not imposed by somebody or you are forced by circumstances to choose it, but it is a career that speaks to you. And the personality, the attributes are very important, but also that leads into behavior where the observable demonstration of competencies then can be there. You know, when our colleagues speak about us in our work environments, they should be able to say that man or that woman, you give them this, they will perform. And this is important in terms of behavior. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I alluded to the fact that we were going to talk about the boundaryless careers and then the protean careers, but I said there's also an aspect of employability that we have to consider when we talk about future careers. And you can see, you know, in front of us, this slide is full of a lot of information, qualifications, you know, occupational importance, you know, context, profession, labor, there are a lot of them. But what is important is that do all of these speak to me having constructed a career that makes me employable? I did allude to the fact that these days, you know, someone sitting in America can send an advertisement to say, I need people with, you know, this particular qualification, skills, who can do this particular kind of job. You're sitting in the comfort of your home, and this person says, can you do it? And you say, yes. So they may take you through the process to see. But the aspect of employability is your responsibility, the one who is constructing a career. Am I in a position to speak about the skills, the competencies, the, all those aspects that I have accumulated, that I have developed, which make me employable? What is this issue of employability? Pearson Education says that employability skills are what make us employable. Again, there was mention of the issue of communication. If we can't communicate effectively and efficiently with the world, are we employable? Most of the time, it may be quite tricky because we are interacting with the global market now. And in the global sphere, only those people who can communicate will be able to feature. Do I have critical and creative thinking skills? This is where now it becomes tricky. Remember, now that you are sitting in the comfort of your home, you don't have even, the opportunity of listening to others and, hear what is it that they're talking about, that you can say, well, I didn't understand that, I didn't know it, let me go find out. So you are faced with critical and creative thinking you have to engage with in order for you to be employable. Let's make an example. Say a guy in America who wants to employ you from where you are sitting says, well, I've heard that South Africa has actually taken up good strides in terms of coding. And then he says, well, our context might actually not be the same. So I would like you to develop a model that will speak to my community where I am, which is where now, because of the boundaryless career, you are being employed. Well, he might, say, well, I'll provide you with information about my context, but you need to come up with this particular model. So it speaks about your critical and creative thinking that you need to inject in that. And the careers that of the future demand this. And also the aspect of leadership. If we cannot be leaders, it will be difficult, because today it's not a question of being led. It's a question of being a leader. And you are becoming a leader not only of your proximal context, but you are becoming a leader on a global scale. You are still sitting in the comfort of your home, and somebody might actually decide, well, we actually have a hub here that we want you to lead. From where you are, you have no idea what is going on. But these are the skills that we need to develop. And then self-management, how important that is. Now that we are in the 4IR, a lot of us, will be in meetings, and we, as human beings, we can be so innovative. Some will be doing what they call multitasking, while they think they are listening to what the deliberations in a meeting. Others might just decide, well, I'll switch on my camera to appear as if I'm there, but they are not actually there. And this issue of self-management in these careers is critical and important. And again, the issue of social responsibility, where now we have to be responsible not only of ourselves, but also of others and their contexts where they are. And collaboration and teamwork cannot be overemphasized. Even if you are in your Protean or boundaryless career, you still have to collaborate with others. You still have to work in a team with others. An example, currently I am engaged with the Catholic University of Columbia. And because I'm leading students from the side, from South Africa, to participate on their side. Then I have to collaborate with my colleagues that side. I have to collaborate to be a team player in terms of the plannings and everything that has to do with that. These are the employability skills that we need to look at seriously and then consider for the future careers. And again, I alluded to these following issues, that the careers of the future must be understood now in relation to globalization. We are not operating in our own context anymore. This is a widely open context. And digitalization, whether we like it or not, is here to stay and is taking us in bounds towards the future. And if we don't embrace it, if we can't develop skills within the digital sphere, then we are shortchanged and maybe shortchanging ourselves. And again, lifelong learning opportunities are always there. We just have to tell ourselves that I seem to be lacking in particular skills. Let me go back to the drawing board and find out how can I now include these in the construction of the career for myself. And continuing education and training are but non-negotiable. We have to do that all the time. I would like to conclude by saying that, ladies and gentlemen, the best way to predict the future is to create it. We cannot be talking of future careers if we cannot create them. The world now is at the level where it's not waiting, it's not looking for people who are waiting, but it is looking for people who are proactive, who want to say, yes, we can see that even though we can't predict precisely what the future holds, there's a likelihood that in future, the job market will be looking for people with competencies in these particular career clusters. So let's embrace that and work towards saying to ourselves, that's where we are going. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention, and I will be led by the host in terms of what happens with the questions going forward. Thank you so much.
Professor Sefotho, thank you very much. How do we know what the future will look like and what skills are going to be needed? AI has a long way to go to reach the level of the human mind. There is a fear that AI is taking over human jobs. And you are saying that AI asks of us to reason, to act, adapt, and to sense. The question you are asking, which is very important, are the careers responding to the job market? Are they accommodative of our human abilities? And you then go on to say that when we talk of a proletarian career, it is one which metaphorically thinking from the Greek mythology, it's got to be versatile and adaptive or adaptable. It has got to be one that thinks of boundaries, that removing boundaries and many gifts as well. And you then put on the protein plant, which is our national plant, and you say it has got 1,500 species. And perhaps that's how adaptive or adaptable we should be. That's how versatile we should be.
Yes.
And when you speak of a boundaryless career, you are saying it is the opposite of an organizational career. And you are saying this boundaryless career can be intra or inter-organizational. And this depends on a network. And you are saying the boundaryless career is competency-based. And it is based on that perspective. There is so much I have learned today. And without the waste of time, I think we should open up to everybody in this webinar to have a word, a question, or a comment. There is a hand, my people, that you can raise. And when you've raised your hand, or just write your question in the Q&A, we will give you a chance to say something. But I always like to put my boss in the hot seat because I know she always has something to say about this. She is very, very passionate about careers. Susan, over to you, please. Please say something.
Thank you, Tepu. Professor Sefotho, thank you very much for this this webinar. You know, and I must bring it a little bit back to my own home. Then that is to say, I still have some young adults, some green grass out there, who's just embarking on the career path, and always have to assist them, to give them advice, etc. And what you said really resonates with me. So it was really valuable, considering in the spectrum. I have 6 children, by the way, so I have them all.
Congratulations.
So what I have is a differently abled child in this suite of children, and you know, it's always my question about this differently abled child is how does one sort of knock a niche for this child to be meaningful and useful in the world out there. I think your sentence or your coin, employability, I think resonates very strongly with that type of child. Because if they still if they're reliable and they can communicate and all those things, I think it does secure something very special for them. But I think all the qualities that you've raised are extremely important. And I think what really struck me, just sort of, I think one forgets, and that is sort of the borderlessness now of taking up jobs, that you can actually sit at home and work in America. If you and I really think that is absolutely great, that you've just widened our thoughts about the work out there. So maybe you cannot see it, but you know, I am getting to that age that I have that people are starting to ask me, so when do you retire? And I'm just thinking, no, my dear, not this one, because I'm always thinking about how to reposition myself, the new skills. What is it I can still contribute without losing the drive to be meaningful and useful for any business, so to speak. So I think that is very important, the message that you brought us. So sorry, Prof, this has been more comments and perhaps just relating to my own situation. And then just lastly, just very briefly, then yes, I have a son who's a sound engineer that hasn't worked for 2 years, has had no job, but not 1 month has he come to my desk and asked me for any reimbursement. Because he is energetic, he's a wheeler and a dealer, and he find whatever his hands have to do. So sorry, colleague, that is a very personal sort of relation to what Professor Sefotho has said this morning. I just thought it's a pity we don't know how old these people are that's joining us on this webinar, because I think this is the most apt message for young adults, even for grade 11s, 12s that embarking on their careers, to see what qualities do you have to have. And you're absolutely right. I think sometimes, you know, students or even graduates think now they've got the degree and now they just whack for the rest of their lives. They're not. And what you've raised is extremely important. I would like to invite you perhaps just to share a little bit of some of your ideas about differently abled people. just general ideas. I know there are other people on this call that also have differently abled children at their houses. Thank you, Prof. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Madam. Thank you so much for sharing those sentiments, especially sentiments that are closer to your own experiences. That is extremely important. Currently, I'm embarking on what I call career transitioning for differently abled people. What am I talking about here? Having talked about what we have talked about, most of the time, we are oblivious of the fact that amongst us are differently abled people. And talking about now creating spaces for them, we have to think policy-wise. I'm hoping and wishing that this issue of career transitioning can actually catch fire in South Africa, because we don't have it. And instead of concentrating on career guidance, counseling, career development of everyone, let's talk about when a child with a disability leaves home and looking towards one day saying to himself or herself, I want to be able to make a living for myself. How are they supported by the family, by the school, the education systems to transition into the world of work where this person can say, you know what, I actually am a person with autism, and I don't like, getting much involved with too many people. So I work better in my own space where I can sit and think and create and innovate. So allow me that space. Has there been that trajectory that helps them to optimize their abilities? That's the message I want to give to you, Madam. Differently abled people must be given space to optimize their abilities, and we must help them to now construct careers based on their abilities in the labor market. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Prof. We have a few comments and one question. There is a gentleman that I know would like to ask a question, and I'm wondering if he can unmute himself and ask his question. Tate Mohale, Bushi Mohale, please unmute yourself and ask your question, sir. It's a very interesting question, and I don't want to misrepresent you. Oh, by the way, while he's trying to do that, there were words that were typed as you were speaking right at the bottom of your screen. So somebody was asking, why is he reading from what? No. I think it is because you present to a mixed audience, and sometimes you have a differently abled person in the group, and therefore they should be able to follow the presentation. I am saying this just to make everybody aware that this is the situation. Dr. Mohale, are you there?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the great presentation by Prof and yourself, Mr. Majaki. Prof, my question is on the issue of AI careers as opposed to careers in AI. That in terms of adapting the rest of the careers to be able to use AI as a tool to increase either the level of service offered to the masses or to multiply the service each career is able to offer. For instance, we know that robots using AI can assist in production facilities. That means that or two careers came together, programmed a robot, and gave the ability of the robot to do work for such careers. So, but now the question is on the rest of the careers being able to adapt AI to multiply their efforts in the human race. Would you be able to just talk on that about the rest of the careers adapting AI so that they can multiply themselves in their service for humanity? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my brother. You touched on two aspects: careers in AI, the first one. This is where we are saying our young people with skills or who want to develop skills and competencies in AI must actually look towards that in terms of future careers. Because AI, as I said, is with us, and it is opening up opportunities which our people must actually innovate and take advantage of. I want to use an example of what I learned about Rwanda, in that in Rwanda, now for medical supplies delivery in the remotest of areas, people use drones to do that. And I was asking myself the following question. When we have so much challenge in terms of accessibility of internet, can someone come up with an idea that says, well, I'm developing a system that can actually supply internet to the remotest areas in South Africa without the physical infrastructure that we are used to, so that at least, you know, there's some innovation that goes on there. And on the other side, on the flip side, yes, you are correct to say, now here are, you know, a multitude of careers. How then can they infuse AI in their systems so that they help, you know, modernize, improve how we do things, how we have been doing things. Let me take an example once again. Here is a student with visual impairment who is sitting in Lusikisiki. And, you know, for you to reach there, it might take, you know, ages before you get there. But can the education system innovate again such that that learner, that student is also accommodated? You know how much I always lament the fact that in the education system, we buy so much from elsewhere instead of innovating from the ground to say, here is AI, it's with us. How can we use it to build, to, you know, improve our education system such that we don't need to borrow every time from elsewhere? And I agree with you that we just need to find ways of encouraging our young people to become what I call entrepreneurs. And I have coined another term, Madam Susan, that I call heiferpreneurship, that is specific now to differently abled people, to say again, how do we help them? Someone was asking about the writing that is going on down here. This is somebody who has innovated to say, as I'm speaking, the system is transcribing what I'm saying for someone who is probably hard of hearing, but they can read and see what I'm saying. This is the kind of innovation that we are saying injected in the careers that are out there right now on the basis of AI. Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you so much, Prof. My big boss's hand is also up. Prof. Himmler, over to you. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Seppo. Thank you, Prof, for what has been a rather engaging subject that you have brought to our attention. I think it is timeless that we focus on these issues because we live in a very challenging world, and we give very little space to people with the various types of disabilities. So I'm very indebted to your contribution in making the content, much more widely distributed. The question I have is not directly related to the topic, but it is something that I have pondered, having listened to a webinar not too long ago, and I don't know, I can't remember what it is called, but those international tests that schools participate in and looking at their performance overall. I can't remember the term for those exams. But
I think it's PISA, Prof.
Sorry, what?
I think it's PISA, that it's will help me here.
Okay, well, whatever it is. But my concern is that when it came to skills and our performance with respect to IT and those sorts of issues, we performed appallingly. In fact, we were at the lower end of the performance scale. So I understand the way in which you have contextualized all the challenges we have, across the national grid. And so in addition to focusing on individuals with the various disabilities, etc., in our normal schools, we already have many, many issues. And I think it's timeless that through people like yourselves, who are the experts in the field, that we lobbied with a bit more advocacy with the Department of Basic Education to seek some ways forward on how we mitigate to close these sorts of gaps. Because as you say, Prof, come, the 2050 or whatever target year you want to look ahead, the world is an ever-changing place. And how do we contextualize our efforts from the present to work towards a standard that gives all South Africans equal opportunities to be able to find their place in the job market, etc. So I was just considering, what are your thoughts about the current situation of the IT skills in the national grid of education? Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Sefotho.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. Prof, until as the nation, we get to a level where we will realize that it is our collective responsibility to allow South Africa to shine. We will always be in the back burner. What am I talking about here? Here are efforts, for example, by the Department of Education, whichever one, higher education or lower education, that says, let's have AI equipment in our schools. And somebody goes and steals that without realizing that they may gain a little after having, being paid for whatever that they stole from the school premises, but they have killed possibilities of developing talent of hundreds and hundreds of people. This is why I'm saying it is our collective responsibility. And now, when it comes to, thank you so much, our education system, I think it's time that we optimize the technologically driven approaches to education. Right now, if I were to share a little bit, you get stuck if you say to somebody, well, let's work with your cell phone where you are so that I can help you. It becomes such a mission. But what if then, the education system really goes the whole hog and says sciences. I happen to have been in one of the conferences by the Zero Project. This is where people from all walks of life go to showcase how far advanced they are in whatever area. And this time it was technology. And I was so shocked to see how advanced Israel is in terms of technology. What is it that they are doing that we are not doing? And for me, until South Africa takes the bulls by the horns and says to herself, it is my responsibility, each one of us where we are, to de-school myself so that I can re-educate myself in things that are necessary, such as technology, AI, you name it. Then we will always be operating in PISA at a very lower level. Let's allow our children to play around with these gadgets. Let's support them. Let's not have the mentality that when my child is using a cell phone, he's too much on it. Find out what it is that the child is doing so that you support them and say, it looks like this is interesting what you are doing. Yes, with a guard, of course, that they don't get into things that are going to hurt them, but allowing them that space so that it's not only that they meet technology when they go to school, but also from the homes, we should be able to provide opportunities for that. Thank you so much for the question, Prof.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that we request that you evaluate this session. There is a link in the chat box for your evaluation. And for those of you who are interested in the CPD certificates, please drop your name, surname, and institution so that we can be able to follow up and apply for those certificates. I think we have come to the end of our webinar, Prof. And I'm just wondering if there is somebody who will not be able to breathe if they didn't ask their question. We can allow just that one. Otherwise, I am seeing a lot of remarks in the chat box. People are very happy with the presentation. And as the Academy, we are grateful for the presentation, Prof, and for taking your time to address us on this very important topic. And this is just the beginning of a relationship we are starting with you. Going forward, we are going to be sitting down and thinking creatively as to how we can get you to talk to millions and millions of young people in the country. I can just confidently say somebody is listening to us right now from the DSI. I invited them to come in and listen because he has an interest of you talking to kids in Mpumalanga very soon. I hope that that plan will come to fruition. Today, we have learned that we have a structure and we have our agency. It is very important that we become agents of change and we go out there and have an impact on people's lives so that they can be able to go forward. Thank you very much, Prof, for being with us. Let me put my boss on the spot again, just to ask her to thank everybody. Over to you.
Thank you, Tepu. Professor Sefotho, thank you very much for this presentation. It just reminded us again of what work we have to do in this country. I think Professor Sudial's question was very apt and very to the point about what we face in this country. And we really have to think, how do we motivate these children that has to embark on their careers now? How do we impress upon them all these qualities that you've highlighted? Because without those, our unemployment numbers will still keep on growing, etc. Because I find learners' and children's attitudes are really lacking, and that's quite problematic. And I'm just thinking also, how can we systematically change sort of the value system is that we present to the work of world. So thank you very much, Professor. I'm looking forward to have some further engagement with you and really hope that we can walk this path with you just to change the young people of ours into really productive employees of companies, etc. Thank you very much for a very inspirational discussion this morning.
Thank you, Madam.
And we thank everybody else on this call. And we wish you well and a very good weekend. And as said, looking forward to our road together going forward. Thank you, Prof. Thank you,
Thank you
Sefotho.
so much, Madam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.